How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brown Logan, and today we got to talk about this article from the Washington Post. To give you a little bit of background about why I'm doing this, first of all, one of my subscribers suggested it on my previous video I just did about the whole kerfuffle with Chick-fil-A and Jack Dorsey, which I will put a link to in the box. But I also heard about this when I went to go see Jordan B. Peterson live. It was a great event. We had a fantastic time. If you're on my Facebook page, you saw some pictures from the event, and I'll place a picture of the actual crowd here on the screen before you. This was in Nashville, downtown at the Ryman. We had a great time, great city, great people. And Jordan B. Peterson was on stage for quite a while, and he brought up this article and actually read it and gave his blow by blow on it. So some of what I say may be influenced by what he said, but I'm going to give you my take on it. And you see the headline, obviously, over my shoulder, which says, "Why can't we hate men?" Let's go ahead and get into the article to see exactly what's going on here. This is obviously Harvey Weinstein here. And the article is written by Suzanna Danuta Walters. And she is a professor of sociology and director of the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program at Northeastern University. And she is the editor of the gender studies journal Signs. And the article reads, "It's not that Eric Schneiderman, the now former New York Attorney General accused of abuse by multiple women, pushed me over the edge. My edge has been crossed for a long time, before President Trump, before Harvey Weinstein, before mansplaining and incels." Now, this whole thing about incels, I guess this came about, some guy shot up a place. I forgot exactly what's going on. I'm speaking off the top of my head right now, but if I could find that particular person, I'll put them in the box below. But I've only heard about this one person go out and act out in a weird way, and I've not heard about these people before, but let's keep going. Before live streaming sexual assaults and red pill men's groups and rape camps as a tool of war and the deadening banality of the male prerogative. Okay, I don't know what a rape camp is. This is in the Balkans, so this is like something. This is some war stuff. Okay, this is not really like, you know, a thing in society that's normal, that you would just go down to the street corner and see something like this. But let's keep going. Seen in this indisputably true context, it seems logical to hate men. I can't lie. I've always had a soft spot for the radical feminist smackdown, for naming the problem in no uncertain terms. I wrinkle at the "but we don't hate men" protestations of generations of would-be feminists and the, quote, "men are not the problem, the system is" obfuscation too precious by half. Now, here's the thing that Jordan B. Peterson spoke about, and what I also agree with. How do you just put all men into one box, into one category, to say that every man in the world falls into this? I mean, you have gay men, you have men who are married with kids, never have any problems. You got men that save women's lives, that rescue people, your public servants. I mean, how did you just put all men into one box and just say blanketly that all men are the problem? It just doesn't make any sense logically. But of course, the criticism of this blanket condemnation of men from transnational feminists who decry such glib universalism to U.S. women of color. Oh boy, here we go. The race card always gets brought up, and you know what? I hate when it's used in general, but I hate when it's used in a situation like this where it does not even apply. To U.S. women of color who demand an intersectional perspective are mostly on the mark. These critics rightly insist on an analysis of male power as institutional, not narrowly personal or individual or biologically based in male bodies. Okay, how is male power institutional, and what exactly is male power? Are we going to get answers in this article? I'm not quite sure, because I've not read it before, but I've heard it read before. I'm not quite sure if we're going to get answers, but we'll see. Growing movements to challenge a masculinity built on domination and violence, and to engage boys and men in feminism are both gratifying and necessary. Please continue. Now, does this mean that you want to soften up boys, make them be more like girls? Because that's what it sounded like to me. And if that's the case, then why do you even need men here? Just to reproduce? How do you even get to the point of reproduction if you have men being the same as women? See, at a certain point, it's not making any sense. Do you just want to hook us up to a machine and milk us like cows for our sperm? You could just reproduce that way. And then when men are born, you could just, I don't know how you're really going to just carry on society, just casting men to the side or making them be more like women. I don't get it. But this recognition of the complexity of male domination, how different it can be in different parts of the world, how racism shapes it, should not, must not mean we forget some universal facts. Okay, let's get into these so-called facts and what she believes these facts are. Pretty much everywhere in the world, this is true. Women experience sexual violence, and the threat of that violence permeates our choices, big and small. Okay, I mean, women do face threats of violence, especially sexual violence, but men face threats of violence as well, and also sexual violence. So how is that threat of violence something that is only relegated to women? In addition, male violence is not restricted to intimate partner attacks or sexual assault, but plagues us in the form of terrorism and mass gun violence. Okay. I mean, let's see how she spins this to make this be like a woman's issue. Women are underrepresented in higher wage jobs, local and federal government, business, educational leadership, etc. Wage inequality continues to permeate every economy and almost every industry. Women continue to provide far higher rates of unpaid labor in the home. Now, when I heard this, when Jordan said it, pardon me, at the event in Nashville, I was floored. You're talking about housework, raising children. You want to get paid for raising your own kids, for cleaning up your own house. You want to get paid for that. So shit, men get paid for cutting the grass, killing spiders, fixing stuff, changing oil. Should we get paid for that? I mean, if you have a home, you have to do things to upkeep that home. If you have children, you got to do things to upkeep the children. Should you be paid for your own responsibilities? Should you go out here and have a job so you're able to afford to have a home and to have children that you got to take care of? This sounds like a child wanting to still get paid for doing chores in the home. Okay, when you are a child, you don't have any ownership. You don't have any equity in the situation. You're just there as a responsibility of the parents who brought you here. But once you get to be an adult and move out, now you got kids. Now you got your house. You have a job. You have responsibilities. You can't say that you need to get paid for that. That doesn't make any sense at all. That was really on my chest for a while ever since I heard that. So I'm glad I was able to get it off, but I digress. Now, back to what they were saying here about not getting paid in the house for doing housework, which we're supposed to do in the house that you own or you live in or whatnot. They're also saying that child care, elder care, or care for disabled individuals, housework or food provision. I mean, cooking and cleaning and taking care of your mom who may be sick, who may be in the latter years of her life. I mean, come on. Like, I did that when Granny was still living, God rest her soul. I mean, it's what you do. You got your grandma, my father had his mother. This is not something you need to get paid for. This kind of person, something is wrong up here because you're expecting to be paid to take care of your own family. I don't get that. I'm not saying if you do get paid by the government or something like that, there's something wrong with that. But to expect to get paid to take care of your own family, I'm not really sure about that. And she goes on to say, women have less access to education, particularly at the higher levels. Women have lower rates of property ownership. Well, let's go back a little bit. Okay. Now, I don't know how this person made the jump from terrorism and gun violence to business ownership or to jobs. But here's the thing. If women are no different than men, there's the exact same thing going on between both. And, men are just somehow wrong and bad. Then what's wrong with women to where they can't start their own businesses and become their own bosses? Must men also provide the job? So if men are the problem, then why rely on us at all? You should be able to take care of whatever you need to take care of on your own without men at all. It seems as if this person is relying on men to provide everything, but they want things on their own terms. It's pretty weird. And here's a little video clip. I'm not going to play it, but of course, this article will be in the description box. And it says, this is a story of how Hollywood's unique power structure enabled sexual harassment to remain the entertainment industry's open secret. Now, to speak on that quickly, the entertainment industry, Hollywood, all of that, at a certain point, people go there willing to do certain things. I'm not saying it's right, but at the same time, this is just what it is. A lot of people, unfortunately, go there naive, not understanding what's going on. But the veteran actors and actresses, they know what time it is. They know that if they want to get a role, if they want to have a successful career, maybe they might need to do a little bit of quid pro quo. It's no secret. I mean, you got people that are married to directors. Like, it was one woman, I forget her name, but in her first big role, it was like some kind of Hollywood blockbuster, and she was married to the actual director of the movie. I'm kind of, just stating it in a basic way. It may have been her second or third role, but basically her breakout role was with the director she was married to. So it exists. You can participate or not. It's your choice. When it comes to what Bill Cosby was doing and what Harvey Weinstein was accused of doing in certain situations, you're forced into it. That's different. That's when it becomes a criminal element. But just a general culture that exists is generally a consensual thing. But I digress. The list goes on. It varies by country, but these global realities of women's economic, political, social, and sexual vulnerabilities are, well, real. Indeed, the nations in which these inequities have been radically minimized, Iceland, for example, are those in which deliberate effort has been made to both own up to gender disparities and to address them directly and concretely. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan B. Peterson was talking about the Nordic countries. I guess you could include Iceland because, if I'm not mistaken, that's part of Denmark. Maybe that's Greenland. But either way, these far northern European countries, they have big differences between the genders because of all these things that are put on the books to make them more equal. On paper, you have more gender equality, but in reality, you have a very big gap in between genders and many different things you can measure by many different metrics that are actually observable. But anyway, back to the article. So in this moment here in the land of legislatively legitimized toxic masculinity, is it really so illogical to hate men? This is the question. You describe America as legislatively legitimated toxic masculinity. That's the culture that we have here in the United States. And then she says, hey, is it illogical to hate men? Like, what's wrong with that? For all the power of hashtag Me Too and hashtag Time's Up and the women's marches, only relatively few men have been called to task, and I've yet to see a mass wave of prosecutions or even serious recognition of wrongdoing. Now, here is where Jordan was talking about the Soviet Union, communism, stuff like that. The gulags, everybody getting killed, because this kind of thinking is what leads up to a thing like that. Now, you may say I'm kind of exaggerating. I'm maybe going a little bit overboard, but hear me out. In the Soviet Union, what happened was people felt like others had too much, needed to be eliminated in order to make society so-called more equal. So what happened first? You took things, people that had it. You took property from property owners and killed them. You took food from the farmers and killed them. You killed the intellectual people because maybe they had an ability to rise above others in society. You killed the students because maybe they could become intellectuals. It snowballed to the point where millions of people were killed. Okay. And this was not that long ago in history. This is the same thing. Like, what do you want? Like every man to have the police come to their home and be drug out, kicking and screaming, to be put in front of some kind of board to determine who's morally right or wrong? That seems very crazy and very scary, actually. Back to the article. On the contrary, cries of, quote, witch hunt, unquote, and the plotted resurrection of celebrity offenders came quick on the heels of the outcry over endemic sexual harassment and violence. But we're not supposed to hate them because hashtag not all men. I love Michelle Obama as much as the next woman, But when they have gone low for all of human history, maybe it's time for us all to go Thelma and Louise and Foxy Brown on their collective butts. So this whole statement here, I mean, is really just kind of, I don't even know what to say. Like, what do you mean they? Who are you talking about they? Are you suggesting that we hurt people? And who do we hurt? And for what reason? For what do we hurt someone? Is there no innocent until proven guilty? Is there no trial process? Like, what are we really doing? And then you bring up Thelma and Louise and then Foxy Brown as well. So you want to make it be this inclusive collective thing to mention white women, but also the black woman. That was unintentionally. I just don't like this whole, I'm tired of these people, white liberals, black liberals or whatever, trying to use this black anger to fuel their whack think pieces. But back to the article. The world has little place for feminist anger. Women are supposed to support, not condemn, offer succor, not dismissal. We're supposed to feel more empathy for your fear of being called a harasser than we are for the women harassed. We are told he's with us and hashtag not him. But truly, if he were with us, wouldn't this all have ended a long time ago? If he were really with us, wouldn't he reckon that one good way to change structural violence and inequity would be to refuse the power that comes with it? Like, what power do you speak of, and how does a person refuse it? I don't understand. One thing Jordan B. Peterson said was the power that you speak of is that men tend to have more say-so in the economy because of the kind of lives that we choose to live. Because of biological things, men are more likely to work in more dangerous jobs. We work longer hours. We do more jobs that are outside. And these jobs tend to shape how society is. Okay, who's going to get your power back on when it goes out? Who's going to fix the things in your house that you need in order to actually live there? Who's going to get the food to the grocery store that you're able to pick up? Society runs on the backs of men. So that's the so-called power that we have. So how are we going to refuse that? And if we did refuse it, what's going to happen to society as a whole? The Wi-Fi that you have, the nice water that you have that comes through the pipe all clean, the ability to be on your laptop, all this, that, and the third, these things come as a result of the so-called power that you speak of. So if you eliminate that, what will you replace it with? See, this is when a woman is not thinking logically because there's no male guidance, or she rejects the guidance of men or the logic that men bring. I'm not saying that women are illogical, but when you reject things that are typically associated with masculinity, you're going to end up with a person who is not thinking logically at all. And when this person is allowed to be in leadership roles, they're going to cause society to plummet. This is part of the reason why Trump got elected, is because people were starting to see society tank. You got a guy in there that's kind of a pansy, and he begins to think as a woman, not as a man. Not saying that women can't think logically, but when you reject your masculine nature, you're going to have problems as a result. And when a woman rejects masculine influence on her, you're going to have issues. Just the same as a man, if he is totally just cold and doesn't understand nuance, which is something that will come more from women, then he's going to have a problem as well. At the end of the day, we are both needed. Both sides of the coin necessary to have society go forward. And that's just pretty much what it is. So I think we got this one little piece here. I'll read this and then we're done. So men, if you are really hashtag with us and would like us to not hate you for all the millennia of woe. that was one thing George said, millennia of woe. So me just sitting here in my Trump hat, whatever, I've caused a millennia of woe. Am I a vampire? Am I undead? Am I a zombie? What's going on? So the millennia of woe you, regular guy, have produced and benefited from, start with this. Lean out so we can actually just stand up without being beaten down. That's a lot of stuff, man. That's like a sobriety test. Lean out, stand up, it's just too much. Pledge to vote for feminist women only. No men, no women unless they're feminists. Don't run for office. Just, don't even engage in your rights as a human being in America. Don't run for office. Don't be in charge of anything. Okay. Step away from the power. We got this. And please know that your crocodile tears won't be wiped away by us anymore. We have every right to hate you. You have done us wrong. Hashtag because patriarchy. And it is long past time to play hard for team feminism and win. Okie dokie. That is enough of that article there. That was a lot. I don't know what to say here. I mean, this is really crazy. At the end of the day, as I close, I just want to say that men and women are needed in society. When people try to have people go against their nature, what they're biologically more apt to do, it causes problems. This person obviously has issues. She is a sociology professor. If that was my professor, I'd drop out of college ASAP, or at least transfer, do something, because I couldn't have that at all. But the problem, I can laugh and joke about it, but the problem is people like this are running college campuses. These crazy tinfoil hat liberals run your child's college. They run your child's high school, middle school, elementary school. And then people that come from them in these colleges are going to perpetuate a cycle. They're going to be teachers at elementary school, middle school, high school. They're going to be HR professionals in the workplace. This is just going to infect society and cause it to sink further. Like I said, people were starting to realize this a while ago. This is not a new phenomenon. This person had probably been indoctrinated this way since a young child. People were starting to see this kind of behavior infect all facets of society, and that's why we have really just stopped buying into it by and large, and we're starting to fight back. Unfortunately, many of us still buy into this foolishness, but hopefully more of us wake up and this comes to an end. So what do you think? Do you think the professor here was correct? Was she incorrect in this article? If you think that she was correct, please explain to me why in the comments. If you think she is incorrect, please explain to me why in the comments. You know where I stand, but whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.